the camel's back has been broken for months.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
I would love to know what was said at that meeting right before the international break or during the international break when they had 7 days to discuss the direction that Manchester United was heading in. What did they see since then in a Brentford win, a draw at Fenerbahce, and a loss at West Ham that really told them, oh, United is really going in the wrong direction. Maybe we should consider sacking the manager, because nothing has really changed. It's been going in the same negative trend for months at this point, right? Since, I would even say, since the summer, because reportedly you couldn't find another candidate to fill that role. They were talking to other people. No one wanted to accept the job. What has changed? Why was this the final straw? It felt like an inevitability at this point that it was going to happen.
We all knew it was going to come to this point. We all knew it was nothing. There was nothing secret about this happening. And
like, how long can you hold on for?
You look at Manchester United over the course of the past 2 seasons, but especially this season, they have scored only 8 goals in the league.
Oh. Giving up 11.
8 goals. You look at City 20, Liverpool 17, Arsenal 17, Villa 16,
How many goals were
Chelsea
scored
19.
Do you want me to tell you something?
Goals.
Do you want me to tell you something more damning than that? Manchester United are 14th place in the Premier League.
Hold on, that's when you sack the manager, when you're in 14th place in the Premier League. And they actually did it. They actually did it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised because
Same.
you could have, I could have woken up this morning and been like, no, this guy's going to be there until December. Like, I truly thought that they were backing this guy because it was their decision to keep him.
Look at what happened since their decision to keep him. Thomas Tuchel becomes the manager of England. Gareth Southgate has recently said he doesn't want to manage for another year. He wants to be out. Yeah. Who's left to take over this club? You could have had Thomas Tuchel if you would have made that decision in the summer.
But would he have been the right guy? I don't know. Who wants this job at this point? This feels like a very
If he's the right guy for England, he might be the right guy for Manchester United, I would think.
You're also your big summer signing of De Ligt has not really panned out yet as well.
All the guys that are there, whoever wants to take this job, all the guys that are there, count them. Onana, De Ligt, Lisandro Martinez, Mazraoui. In the midfield, did he bring Casemiro in? And Anthony, Højlund, Zirkzee. All of these guys are Ten Hag guys. So now the new guy that needs to come in has to reshuffle, rethink, and figure it out with a squad that's not there. So the rebuild, right? Because now we're talking about another rebuild. Because whoever's going to come in is going to say, this is not my team. You're going to have to give me the money to spend and go out and get the guys that I want.
Let's say I am a potential candidate to replace Erik ten Hag. Sell me on this job. Sell me on this job. Tell me why this is an attractive position.
This is worse than sell me a pencil in like a sales meeting, in a sales interview.
All right, Susanna. This is so difficult. All
right, I got one.
Okay.
Please?
No, I got one. Okay. Listen. Susanna, we respect you as a manager. You've done incredible stuff. But Manchester United needs you right now. We're at a moment in our club history where we want to return to greatness, and we think that you are the right person to take this club to the very next level. And there's been turbulent times, but because we think you are the right person to guide us through those waters,
she's out.
You will restore Manchester United to what we think.
How much say will I have?
Actually, she's running the other way after that.
She's slowly inching her way back to the
How much you paying me? How much control do I have?
She's doing the homer.
She's like, yeah, no, cool.
Yeah, keep talking.
You. Anyway, real quick, that roster you were talking about.
You give it a try. Go.
Because it's not happening right now. If you stood a better chance, to your point earlier, when you had a summer or when you had an international break.
How much do they regret that right now?
They have to. A whole lot, because you said we're going to back this guy in the summer after winning an FA Cup. All the candidates who you could go out and get are available then. De Zerbi, you know, Tuchel,
Pochettino.
Like, you could go down the list of all these top candidates who are available then, who you could say, okay, we want you to kind of build this new project because you're going to have to bring in players. Because they're going to come in and go, oh, this guy doesn't work, this guy doesn't work. I got to reestablish the spine of the squad. Now they're coming in and it's all makeshift. It's all, okay, we got to patch things up and on the fly, at the same time, get results. And think about, are you going to damage your reputation to do that?
I wouldn't. Unless I was like older and this was an opportunity to bring this club back to some type of, you know, grace where you get that sort of accolade on your resume. When you look at the investment that Ineos has to make on a stadium that's failing, and there's, you know, leaks, the training ground is the same as it was when Ronaldo was first there. You're looking at all of the investment that needs to be done to get this up to snub to be one of the top clubs. There's not even there's not even a screen at the stadium. They don't even have like a jumbotron. There's nothing there. Like you need to advance. You need this club.
Modernize.
Modernize is a great point. You need to be, if you're one of the biggest clubs in the world, you need to have a stadium that's sufficient to that. Tottenham shouldn't have a more advanced stadium than you. That's besides the point. You have to go do all of that investment. Now you also have to invest in a complete rebuild on the pitch. You're going to spend another, close to $1 billion on players again after you gave this guy that much? This process should have started in the summer. Winning another trophy, a second trophy, should not have been enough for this man to keep his job.
Not to say that a manager can't come in and with the same players have a certain success, right?
Yeah, we've seen it.
Do better. And I think, and whoever comes in, I think will do better because it's very difficult to do worse with this team.
But when do you think someone's going to come in?
What if it's Van Nistelrooy?
I was just going to ask.
What if it's Van Nistelrooy? What if no one has to come in?
Has been just kind of standing there waiting in the wings. Could he be the best option?
This in his mind had to be his path to being on the sidelines as a full-time manager, because why else would he come to Manchester United as an assistant knowing how Ten Hag has been shaky on thin ice, but he's already played for the club.
He was brought by Ten Hag. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah, exactly. But for him, going to be the assistant manager, you had to know.
This is Sopranos.
He doesn't have a long leash. He does not.
Right.
So I think deep down inside he knew, okay, this could happen, and I have to be ready to make the most of this.
Well, think about it though, like in terms of all these cost-saving measures that the club are trying to implement right now. I mean, it does seem like Ruud van Nistelrooy might be an economical choice for them. Do you think that they'll give him that opportunity?
Well, yeah, if he does well, he's going to earn the job up until a certain point, right? Like Daniele De Rossi, who was brought in.
They are actively searching.
Right, up until the search.
That they did that in the summer.
It's true.
And they landed on Erik Ten Hag again.
But Ruud van Nistelrooy.
This is how they searching. This is how they searching.
He can put up a good enough streak of results where he can convince the Manchester United board to stop that search.
It's almost like he can't do any worse at the moment.
Yeah.
If he gets them into Europe, any European position,
at all.
he keeps the job.
They're in 14th right now. Do we think that is even a reality?
What's the points gap? I'm going to look at that.
No, that is, yes, I think that's the reality of Manchester United at the moment.
They're in 14th with 11 points.
11 points.
One win could get them into top 8.
They don't have the 14th worst squad in England at the moment, but 14th is the 14th worst team.
Manchester United can't be in 14th with a goal differential of -3, having scored 8 and given up 11, and you keep your job. So this doesn't surprise me.
Right.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
I guess I'm just surprised because they hadn't done it before. I mean, there was ample opportunities.
This is like your friend
for this to happen, and This
is like your friend who just won't break up with that guy. You're like, there's nothing about it, and he just won't. So you're like, eventually it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to talk to you about it.
How do you think Manchester United supporters are feeling about this decision right now?
Honestly, I would say frustrated because he was sliding down. And along the way, they could have saved Manchester United long before this moment because they had to fall here to say, then go, okay, now you can go.
It's time wasted. It's so much time wasted. The season started in August and we're in October and you gave this guy a transfer window. Can you look up what the full amount spent was in the summer, because then you go in the cost-cutting measures and you fire the secretary?
They fired the secretary and the club historian.
The club historian, and they followed Ferguson, and the kit man.
They fired Alex Ferguson before.
But then in the summer,
someone sent me this weekend. So Liverpool, 13 million spent, 11 wins this summer. 206 million spent. Manchester United, 11 points.
11 points.
I mean,
you have 206. I don't know. I would love to know. I would really love to know the number of this summer. I'll look it up while someone else is talking. But talk about cutting costs, making the right decision, and Ruud van Nistelrooy was available in the summer, right? When he goes as an assistant manager.
But are you going to hire?
Right.
You're not going to hire Ruud van Nistelrooy.
And everything in hindsight is 2020. But the irony of the situation is that maybe you didn't need a top manager or somebody else. Like you went out and you gave this guy spend as much as you want. Zirkzee, De Ligt, Mazraoui, all of these guys that must have cost you a lot of money, and then you're cutting costs all around the club to then just end up firing the guy in October. It's like I felt like they wanted to justify him staying for a really long time, or for as much as they could, because there's a whole project that's been invested with a lot of millions of dollars.
How about Enzo Maresca, another one that was available?
There you go. I don't know.
I mean, there are a number of coaches that you could have went a different pathway, but that's all in hindsight. Here we are today looking at Manchester United as a club with a lot of potential. Yes, they probably need to move on from some of the players that have been playing a lot, but you have to rebuild that midfield, give them structure, because it's easy to play through that midfield. So right now you look at Casemiro and he's chasing ghosts. You're not playing to their strengths. So if they can rebuild this midfield, get them organized, they have enough talent to win games in this league. They have enough talent to compete for a European spot. Nottingham Forest is in 7th. Brighton is in 6th. I mean, that's all you can see right now. Yeah. If Nottingham Forest, Nuno Espirito Santo, has shot them up, and obviously it's early in the season, there's a lot of hope for Manchester United. So I think if you're a Man United fan or supporter, you go, okay, we got rid of Ten Hag. It needed to happen. Let's hope that we can now, Van Nistelrooy can put a team together that can excite and climb up the table.
214.5 million per transfer market.
That's his last transfer.
That's the last transfer. Yeah, this summer, right? When you decided to, all right, do we shift? And then they sold 103 million. So, right?
So far they've
about 211.
In his time, I'm not sure if every one of those transfers account for him, but in his time, he spent over $650 million.
Right.
Pounds.
And it's fine because
dollars.
I'm not so concerned about his whole tenure, because when you buy into a manager, you got to buy into what he wants, and he got who he wanted. Just that this summer, when there were so many doubts around him, he really made this Manchester United. He put the Erik ten Hag seal on this Manchester United. When you look at transfers like who he's going to have, Lenny Yoro, who we haven't even seen. Ugarte is another one that we forgot to mention that he brought in.
He brought him back.
Well, but he's always been there.
I remember when they
back to the club,
brought him into the stadium to do the keepy uppies.
He signed him.
They needed him in a moment because of an injury crisis.
They re-signed Johnny Evans.
They gave him a longer deal. He was always at Manchester United.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was. He was a youth.
He was at Leicester. He went to go play it.
No, they brought him back to work with the youth, and then they needed him.
And then they signed him. Yeah. Ten Hag signed him, though.
Yeah.
It's just. Why did they wait so long?
I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think Manchester United fans are frustrated. And obviously, there's like a cornucopia of Manchester United fans. We've met them all in our comments. I don't know that the majority of them would be frustrated. I think there's a bit of a sense of relief. Because now you don't have to defend this guy anymore. And second of all,
you don't think they're frustrated at all?
I think they're frustrated in general.
Took them this long
based on everything that's happened. Yeah, based on everything that's happened, surely they're frustrated. But today, I think there's a sense of relief that now, hopefully, you have Surgeon Ratcliffe that can put this club in a plan moving forward that has progress. And that's not something we've seen. We've all talked about it. You've not made your players better. We don't know what your identity is. You've not shown any progress. Those days are done. Hopefully, moving forward, you can carry forward.
Ratcliffe and Ineos had to look in the mirror and go, we made a mistake.
We made a mistake.
Oops.
Absolutely.
So you had to finally admit to themselves, because they kept prolonging. No, we're backing him. We decided we're going to give him a new contract because we believe in this guy. But although the results were telling you otherwise, but they were still hard-headed. They said, nope, this is our guy, this is our guy. And now they finally said, guys, we made a mistake, and it's on us.
From the
we gotta
first
move
moment,
on.
though, why wouldn't you want to start tabula rasa, clean slate from the beginning? Why not? You bought a club. There's signs pointing in the wrong direction, and it all hinged on an FA Cup final.
Well, they
Right?
they interviewed candidates, right? So no one, in their mind, stood out enough to say we're gonna sack Ten Hag and we're not give him a new contract, and then we're gonna hire somebody else.
He must have impressed in the room. That's the only thing I can think of, because he did have to sort of
But there's
reapply.
all this impress in the room, and what has he shown you on the pitch for a year?
That's what I've been saying.
None of this, and we go back to the whole interview process about the U.S. men's national team as well, like all these tests that they put them through and blah blah blah. What have you shown me on the pitch, man? This guy has over a year. How long has this guy been at Manchester United? 2 years now, since he took over for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after Ralph Rangnick.
His first season was good.
Okay.
And then everything,
all right. And
everything
then
else has been
dropped off.
It's been a decline
spiral
ever since.
downwards. It's like, what have you shown me on the pitch that has? And it felt like there were so many reports. Did it not feel like going into that FA Cup final against Manchester City? That was his game to prove.
100%.
And if you're making a decision for the future of a club that you just bought a controlling stake in off of one game, it is an admission of guilt that you made a mistake to keep Ten Hag.
Absolutely
It
is.
is, and maybe that's why they took so long. But how are you going to make a decision, such a executive decision, on one game?
Well, I'm sure they didn't make it on one game. I'm sure. The trophy, just the idea of him winning a trophy, sure, but it wasn't that one game. And it's always going to be hard to admit you're wrong on your first major decision.
At least they did it.